Nothing pairs better with tea than a heartfelt talk. Even better when the talk is infused with technology and training. Hi everyone, this is Ttalks. I'm Pranjalee Lahri.
And Amar Pawar.
Today we are talking about ensuring customer success in disruptive times. We're living in a subscription economy where the brand loyalty and stickiness of a product is at stake every month, every quarter, and every year. Because of increased product standardization and commoditization, SaaS businesses have to work in an environment that is extremely competitive. There is an increase in the switching frequency for the buyers, while for the providers, there's an increase in the customer churn rate. The only differentiator between you and your next competition is no longer just the features or the functionalities or the technologies. It is the business value that you can provide today and tomorrow.
One of the key challenges that I have seen in the past 2.5 months, and from the customer success point of view is, one is the trust in you as a service provider. Second in would be, they are really facing challenges. They are really challenges which coming across, and everybody is unprepared for this situation. People have their business continuity plans out there, but nobody would have ever visualized something like this, and being out of office for this long period. So every day has been a big and a new learning for all of us. And one thing that we have to make sure during this period is for us to always have make ourselves available to our customers. They can reach us to you anytime for anything. It could be something which may have not even happened till date for us. Something like they suddenly want to increase the number of users on the platform, or suddenly they are coming across that the content that is available with them is not at all sufficient, and because people are right now at home, they are really looking out for adding more content and more things being available to them. So the challenges are different for many customers, but yes, one thing that has helped us, and had made have instilled confidence in us has been our availability to the customers. They can reach out to us, to our support team, or to their account managers, or to anybody, right from us to the founders of the organization. We are just a phone call away, and that has really helped in terms of the availability that we can provide them. Second have been, we have seen that somehow e-learning has picked up well during this period, and everybody wants to do e-learning, right? So that, and because the suddenness of this particular this particular pandemic, what has happened is nobody really visualized what would be the requirement on the customer end. When I say requirement, it is both in terms of the scale of the implementation, plus the infrastructure availability, the network and the bandwidth availability that they might need, and the complete variation of the user base that they would need to make sure is able to use the platform. So we are also learning a lot of new things, because it's been kind of now it's been 2.5 months, but it's still a shorter period in terms of understanding the real requirements behind the customer, and trying to address that. But we have within a short period of time, we have made ourselves available. We have kept our minds open in terms of trying to visualize what could be the worst that is going to happen during this period, and ensure that we are ready and prepared for that. So that is the second point. Third is definitely one thing which is there is, while yes, e-learning is booming, but everybody is facing a cash flow crunch right now, and everybody is trying to get reserve their cash flows, and get whatever money is available in the market or stuck in the market, trying to get it back. So e-learning, while it is picking up, there is definitely also a concern that whether it is the right time to invest in something like a training for their employees. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. So they want to utilize this period to the best that is possible for their employee training. But again, it's a question about whether it is the right time to new. So yes, that has been there, but what we are trying to work out is we are again trying to work with the customers and trying to understand, what is the real challenge when we are talking about cash flows. We are trying to work out in terms of better payment terms for them. We are trying to stagger those payments so they are not, suddenly out of the entire cash that they are worried about. So we can stagger it and they can actually, release the payments in some, in a way where they can also see whether they are able to make absolute utilization of the system and just not blindly investing in a system.
So, in my opinion, when you talk of customer success, you're looking not just at one particular function, but it's across the organization. So, you're looking at your customer support team, you're looking at your key account managers, you're also looking at, as you said, the availability goes top down and bottom up, which means you're looking at all levels of the organization, keeping their channels of communication open at all times. Now, another point you mentioned is regards to the training or skilling. Now, what happened, in my opinion, is that the suddenness of digital transformation or the digital push that happened because of the pandemic made us do things or move to things that we were not doing earlier. So right now, when you have to look back upon how we used to function or operate, it's a complete shift for us. So now the customer success team or whichever different function that talks to the customer now has to use tools they're not used to using or now had to learn. They are now looking at some different cues other than the non-verbal cues or the body language cues, which you could gauge a person's communication on when you had the person in front of you. All of these things, the entire changed environment has kind of put a need for training and skilling in all of these areas. So, in relation to what I mentioned, a few that I can say are digital skills. You definitely need your employees and your workforce skilled on all of these tools and technologies so they can use them to the optimum. Second is, as I said, the communication part or the soft skills, understanding how to communicate, when to communicate, your tone, and everything that is going to be of importance. The third is the overall gamut of behavioral skills, which will ensure that your team, while it's available for communication, is able to do that in a way that is accepted by your customers. Because communication plays such a key role in making or breaking your customer success strategy, it is worthwhile to keep a couple of tips in mind when designing your communication strategy. There are 3 things I can suggest that you can do to formulate a strategy. First one is when, second is where, and the third one is how. When corresponds to how many times do you want your communication agents or your customer service agents to talk to your customers. Decide upon a frequency that's not too intrusive to the customer, but at the same time makes the customer feel like they're looked after. The second, which is where, corresponds to how do you want to communicate with your customer. Is it going to be a video call? Is it going to be chat? Or is it going to be a phone call that you agreed upon? Whichever way you decide has to be mutually accepted by both the parties. The third one is how. The how corresponds to the tone of the communication. Are you going to be consultative in your communication? Is it going to be more of empathy? Is it going to be a mix of two? Whichever you decide, it has to be percolated to all of your customer service agents so that the customer success team appears as a seamless entity that talks the same language.
In normal times, our standard process of deployment, training, and onboarding a customer, it is generally a 3 to 4 weeks time, which it's completely understandable that it might not work for any customer right now, and we have been able to successfully bring it down to a week's time. So we can now make a system available in whatever environment, be it on premise, be it on our cloud servers or any customer cloud, dedicated cloud infrastructure, if that's what is being considered by the customer. We have made sure that we are able to deploy our system and make it ready for them to use within a week's time. So that's one of the areas that we have understood as a requirement, and we have ensured that we are able to we are prepared for that kind of urgency and readiness from our end to serve a customer in this period of time.
And you're right, when you talk of a shrinking timeline, it's also to do with the business value. So all we have to do, and everyone that is serving a customer has to think about what business value am I delivering to the customer. Is it a reduced timeline? Is it a reduced cost? So in some cases, and this is not just with respect to the e-learning industry or us in particular, but we see that there are many companies that have floated free trials or no payment options for multiple tools and technologies. It is this business value, I think, which will in the long run become the differentiating factor between you and a different product or a different provider. No matter which industry you belong to or which vertical, these best practices will hold you in a good stead as you plan your customer success strategy.
One is, really demonstrate empathy towards the customer, uh, because they are reaching to you in an expectation, because there is a certain, and in these times, given nobody has that much of time availability, they are making out time for you and ensuring that you are able to address it for them. So if you can demonstrate some empathy towards them, and ensure that you understand the problem set and try to give an honest effort towards solving that problem for them, that is going to be one of the best things that we could do for our customers. Second is, when you are onboarding or you are discussing certain requirements, one of the things that I have understood is, it's better to be very clear in terms of, setting up the expectations or providing any commitment. Let's not go overboard in terms of, what we are committing. Let's be clear in terms of, what is really possible and feasible for them, understanding their requirement definitely, and not adding our own buffers and plan in terms of planning or executing the requirement, but being very clear in terms of trying to set the right expectations for the customer. At times, yes, it might sound difficult for a customer to accept that, but it is always ready. It is always really helpful for the customer to understand that we are just not committing something, and we are not failing on our commitment. So if we are really confident about certain things, it's better to highlight and make sure that the expectation is correctly set for the customer. The third and the final thing is, that we would recommend is provide a quality training on the product. This is one area which has, we have seen that, it tremendously helps in improving the customers, experience and, confidence on the system. There are, as soon as you sign up a customer, because the customer is unaware of the features, they are constantly dependent on you. And while we may say that yes, we may answer their queries, and can address it for them, the continuous flow of queries and answering really doesn't help anyone. The customer also slowly, steadily, feels not confident on the solution. If we are able to understand their requirement and are able to beautifully cover this as part of our training, and structure the training in such a way that you are hand holding them into onboarding a platform, and also ensuring that they get expertise on the platform, even if possible more than what you are doing in the certain modules and features, that is going to help build confidence on the platform, and they are going to always be the ones who are going to promote your platform across their network and the channels.
First and foremost, focus on your customer and not the virus. Now that's not to undermine the severity of corona pandemic. It's real and it's devastating, but also to help you understand that your customers are humans. They need to be looked after, they need to be communicated with, and hence prioritizing that over everything else will always keep you focused on the task at hand. The second would be to take a deep dive into your customer's business model, analyze and categorize them into different buckets. Now, an example could be you can have two buckets. One is at risk and one is booming. At risk industries would typically be the ones that are manpower driven, and the ones which are booming will be digitally driven. For most of your at risk businesses, they would have gone from growth to survival, while for your booming businesses, they would have gone from survival to thrive mode. So you want to be able to analyze them separately and treat them separately. So as an example, you can have a plan of business continuity for your at-risk customers, while for your booming customers, you can have a business growth plan developed. And your communication strategies, your customer success strategies can then be aligned to this overarching theme. Another customer success strategy in the disruptive times would be to meet your customers where they are. Example, point A, and see where they want to go. Example, point B. Your job as a provider should be to help them navigate from A to point B. How you do that, what are the routes you take, what strategies you adopt is everything that will make you a big success. This is me, Pranjalee Lahri, signing off. Bye-bye.
This is Amar signing off.